late.
Right.
Hey, folks. Welcome back to Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. So we got most of our guests here already tonight, and we've got a few more to add here during the stream. The panel needs no introduction, but I'll let them introduce themselves as we go around. No fancy gimmicks here tonight. No intros, no nothing. These guys run the show. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you coming out tonight.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Excited to be here.
Not a problem. And hopefully we can hash out some of the madness that's in the world today. There's a whole lot going on. You guys know, you guys all have your finger on the pulse, and every day we just keep getting hammered with more and more and more crap from everybody.
I know, it's so exciting.
Isn't it?
So exciting.
It's crazy. And it's just one after another. You know, the 24-hour news cycle doesn't even seem to be enough for them anymore. They want to hit you every 12 hours with something now. So
you get 2 a day. I love it.
Yeah, 2 a day.
Man.
2 days. Thanks a lot.
So let's do this. Let's go clockwise from the top left. Militant farmer, explain yourself.
Yeah, my name's Ed. I'm from Southern New York, not the city. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I am. No, I'm just joking. I guess I could say that I was prepping before prepping was called prepping. When I'm 31, 41 years old now, and I have never known not having a garden, not canning, not saving what you sow, you know, fix what you buy, don't throw it away and buy again, be outside, try not to be in front of electronics as much as you can. That's pretty much it, man. I feel like if we took the whole electronic age away from me, I probably wouldn't be too upset.
Right.
So, former Marine, former infantry Marine, love the no, thank you. Love the outdoors, love to be in the outdoors, camping, hiking, fishing, do competition pistol shooting semi-regular basis. Yeah. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Lucky Dane.
You're up.
Put on the spot. I feel like I have a kind of a lame intro after that. Hi, I'm Lucky Dane Preparedness. I'm 48. I'm in Central Texas. We do not currently have a blackout where I am. We've got power, so that's always a plus. Yeah, woohoo! We're ready just in case, though.
Life is good.
Yeah, it's better with electricity. I've been in preparedness since about 98, late 98, early mid 99, and kind of in and out of the preparedness community kind of as life and finances allowed me to be over the years, and kind of found the YouTube community a couple of years ago, probably like everyone else. Yeah. With, you know, cooties coming into play and everything like that, and realizing, wow, there's a huge community here online that was not part of like bulletin boards and things like that, like SurvivalNet and you know, things like that, or subforums on ARFCOM or what have you. Let's see. I like gardening when I can get it to grow and it's not roasting in the Texas sun. We have chickens. What else? I'm better if you give me like a direct question. Otherwise, I'm like, what do you want to know?
Right? Yeah.
I'm a little cagey.
Full of information, that's for sure.
Full of something. I don't know.
We just want to sum it up. Is all. We just want to
the basic summary.
There
you go.
Of Lucky Dane Preparedness.
Well, that's it. Then I'll leave it there.
Love it.
Excellent.
Thank you again. Native, you're up. How we doing?
All right. I go by Native Voice here just because, you know, I don't want to, you know, share my identity online. But I've been prepping for, I don't know, a little over 15 years. I don't really know when. I'm like a militant. I've been prepping since before I knew what prepping was.
Yeah, man.
I started prepping when I got out of the military in 2004. We have been prepping long enough to where we've reached the transition period between long-term prepping and trying to transition to a self-sustainable homestead. Awesome. So we call it a prepstead because we're kind of halfway in between. We're learning to raise hogs, chickens, ducks, you know, the whole 9 yards. We have, right now we're catching up on projects trying to figure out how to make our own fuel with wood gasifiers and biodiesel. The whole nine yards. And basically, we're getting ready for the collapse. That's just what my opinion. I don't think society is going to last very much longer, but I'll leave it at that.
I agree with you there.
Collapsitarian.
Just real quick, I want to welcome my good buddy, MY Prepper Greg. Hey, Greg, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Greg, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Great to see you all.
So next up on the intros, Northern Girl Hobbies.
Greg's
Oh.
fucking strong.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm kind of on the prep steading stuff too. We have chickens here. We're on a very small lot in a small town in northeastern Ontario, Canada. And so it's a bit of a difficult thing when you have illegal chickens, especially when you end up with roosters.
Yeah.
Chickens.
You got them illegal chickens. I like her
Yeah, we
saying
got
that.
12 now. We started off with 2. So in the past few
Black
years,
market
it's been
chicken.
growing. Yeah, we do a lot of, we have a decent sized garden, I'll say. It's, we expanded into our front yard this year, actually. So I do a lot of fishing. We do hunting, foraging, and canning. And yeah, it's basically just doing the stuff, trying to get connected with like-minded individuals, get to know our people here locally, and building kind of like mag type things. Because if you don't do the stuff with your people, you don't know how it's going to be if you enter into a shit hits the fan scenario, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
There you go.
Amen. Well, I guess, we don't really need to introduce ourselves. So, Prepping by Faith, welcome. Thank you so much. We can see that you're a prepper just by your super cool background.
Yeah, my awesome stuff behind me.
She works at Sam's Club.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm Prepping by Faith. I live in Southeast Colorado. I started my channel the end of January, so it's about 5.5 months old now. And I created it to help prepare the entire person mentally, spiritually, as well as physically. I do share some faith-based content, usually small teaching moments, just things that I've either been through or am currently going through. I also cover a lot of food-related content, general preparedness, and just some critical thinking. And I've recently started hosting live streams in the last couple of months on my channel.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Pete, how about it, my brother?
The Roman.
What's going on, my man?
How are you?
I'm originally an East Coast guy. I grew up not far from Jason and Mike and the guys up there. Been in Texas now. God,
Speak of the devil.
I'm doing hashtag math. Hey, there's Jason. Been down in Texas over 25 years. I'm an energy sector engineer. Got a master's in business, which is why I keep bringing up why I watch corporations and how they behave, because they have whole think tanks behind it. Roaming prepper, because I've been through 4 continents, 12 cities, overseas, not including what I did in the States. My job just has me constantly traveling. So a lot of my stuff involves, mobile prepping, which is not very easy to do sometimes. Former guardsman, do a little bit of the competitive pistol, actually a mesquite shooter, and was Red Cross shelter certified, FEMA 800 certified, the whole 9 yards. And my dad was a Depression era kid. He had me late in life. So I've probably been a prepper since I was young, but I didn't realize it until I was older.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what happens.
Seems to be a recurring theme. It's like passed down almost.
It was, that was a way of life. We grew up there. I didn't think of it as prepping. I thought of it as, life.
It's what you did. Yeah.
Let's move to thank you, Pete.
Yes, thank you, Pete.
Yeah, man.
NY Prepper, what's happening, my friend? How are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So you can give a brief synopsis of your channel and, how you came about being here tonight, I guess.
Well, obviously, I got invited by you. I'm honored to be here with everybody, and I think this is a great meeting of the minds, and I hope that we can continue doing more of these in the future. I think all of us have our own strengths that we can share and learn from each other. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, my channel, I do prepping, outdoors. I do a lot of firearms. So it's kind of a mix of everything, a little bit of working out mixed into it. But that's pretty much it. Current events.
Love it. I know that Mike considers you one of his great influences. Like, kind of got him, was the guy that wanted, got him wanting to do this kind of thing that we're doing right here. And look at this panel, like, that's assembled right here before us all. This is impressive, man.
Absolutely.
As an avid YouTube user and watcher, like, I'm finding this very impressive right now. Greg, thank you for coming out. Let's Catskill, New York Prepper. What's up? What's up?
Hi guys. What do I do? I'm basically an at-home mom, so we'll start with that. So you need to prepare because with young children, especially living where I live, which is it's New York State, 2 hours north of New York City, but I am in the middle of the woods. So we need to have supplies and things on hand. I am home, with just my son quite often. So I definitely feel it's an obligation as a mom to be prepared. And in fact, I was just talking to Mike earlier. We lost power in half the house. So I have my, solar power lights ready to go and all my things ready to go just in case we lose power. It's not the end of the world, but I don't want my food going bad. So yeah, I as far as being in the preparedness community, it really started right before COVID when my husband and I got this little house in the Catskills, and it just started to evolve on its own because I knew that I wasn't near stores and things, and I needed to prepare for whatever we might need. So, COVID certainly kicked that. The C to the B certainly kicked that into full steam ahead. So I do a lot of canning, food preparedness, gardening, all that kind of stuff. And just trying to learn new skills weekly as much as possible. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
The big fella, Angry, what's happening, my brother? How are you?
The man himself. He needs no introduction. And there he is.
What's up?
Angry Prepper, explain yourself. Why are you so mad, bro?
We don't got that much time, man.
Why are you so mad?
Unmute yourself, man.
Yeah, you're on the mute.
Sorry.
No worries.
I'm just glad to be on a panel with a lot of good people. There's probably two I haven't even heard of on here. Lucky Dane Preparedness. Prepping by Faith, I've seen, but haven't watched any of it. Native, I know who the hell you are. Militant Farmer, I've heard of him, but I haven't watched any of his videos. So I'm definitely going to subscribe to the new people, and everybody else. I know who you guys are, so it's all good. For those who might not know who I am, I'm just the only black guy on YouTube right now. No,
no, you're not.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Yeah, so
I was going to
as an avid YouTube user,
you're black.
Yes, I am. Do not adjust your televisions.
He's Puerto Rican.
I just have a good time being on panels like this. That's pretty much, why I get a kick out of it. And by the way, I think a lot of you know or might not know, but Mike, Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival, I met NY Prepper and I met Catskill. These are people who they're legit. So there's no bullshit. There's no fakeness about them. Nor the girl, I talk to her all the time. I talk to her enough, either on the phone or texting. She's another one. Roaming Prepper, I got to know him on a few conversations. And these are people that I think, in my opinion, are squared away. I'm doing a better job gauging people because, just because you're in a prepper community doesn't mean you're a good person automatically. And that was my mistake, right? For those of you that know what that mistake was. So
I remember all that.
Again, looking at this panel here, I think it's cool. So the Militant Farmer, Lucky Dame Preparedness and Prepping by Faith, I'm gonna absolutely start watching and seeing what they're all about.
I appreciate
So
that,
Militant
Jason.
Farmer,
We've
I
actually
can't
met a
believe-
couple
Did we tell
times.
Jason that he actually met Militant Farmer? But
Yeah, man,
I don't know.
multiple times
I don't
actually,
know.
dude.
I was thinking it.
Yo,
Oh,
maybe you
shit.
Wait a minute.
maybe you can
That's
tell me
my-
where to get the best
that's my
burger
teddy
in the
bear.
world.
Yeah,
Yo,
yo, I'm sorry, I did meet him. All right, so he is a good dude, but he looks like a hipster here. I'm sorry, I didn't.
He looks like
I've
had this beard before hipsters were born, man.
You look like one hip
That's
dude.
true. That is true.
Yo, this
But
is
he's
more
hiding in the
lumberjack
shadow a little
than
bit.
hipster, dude.
Hey, but militant, as long as you don't have skinny jeans, you're okay.
Nah.
Yeah, he doesn't have skinny
He
jeans.
does, though. He
You
wears
better
like
stand up and
He's
show
very
us your
skinny
jeans.
That's
Yo,
fine.
you can see some
shit.
basketball shorts that I got on, but
So one
Yeah,
person.
but I don't follow your channel, so I do apologize.
no, man. And we've never like sat down and like talked in length at any of Mike's events. So
True. Other than burgers.
yeah, man.
So
Yeah.
I do have somebody to introduce to the audience. Everybody has seen this guy in the chat. This is Outlaw Jackson. He's a real good buddy of mine. He is, again, as real as it gets. He is kind of the right hand to my left hand that is Old Mutt. This is like Old Mutt 2.0.
Yeah, right on.
If you guys know of Old Mutt, this is my Old Mutt, my local Old Mutt.
You got to make
there.
the screen big, Hudson. We can't
Outlaw.
see him.
Outlaw.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll
No, not that guy. Not that guy.
Totally wrong guy.
Don't get the beards mixed
Whoa.
up.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah. This is my good buddy Outlaw Jackson. I love
Hey,
his shirt that he
Jackson.
wore tonight. Think
I like
all
the
it's
shirt.
illegal.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Great for tonight.
Is this the layout that we really want?
Well, this is everybody but us. So this is the most important.
No, it's
right here.
everybody but
Everybody. Well, it's the outlaw. That's perfect. That's perfect because he is my guest here tonight.
I don't know how to do this. There we go.
Ah,
Listening to a lot of your stories and how you started on prepping, it kind of, like to say, like what Milton Farmer was saying, it was prepping before prepping was cool. And then shows like Doomsday Prepper came out and kind of ruined it for a lot of us because then everybody thought it was cool to prep.
Yep.
When they made everybody look like a bunch of wackos.
Yeah, so I don't think they made it look cool. I think they just made everyone look even
neurotic,
crazier than
weird,
they thought.
paranoid
Yeah,
people.
it did a lot of damage to the prepping
Yeah.
movement. Yeah.
Really did. Yeah.
Big time. So, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing here tonight, folks.
This is where I will start soloing you. So when you start talking, I will give you front and center. So
So my question for you guys tonight is, what do you think the biggest threat is that we face as preppers today? And as soon as the Militant Farmer is done taking a sip,
whoa, hey.
What do you think is the biggest threat that we as preppers face right now?
In the long run, other people.
Yeah.
Other people?
Yep.
I agree.
In
People
there.
that know that you have stuff.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So putting ourselves out here like this to talk to everybody, it may bite us in the ass in the long run. So
I also think being in a blue state like New York, being known for doing whatever you do, might eventually might eventually put you on that list that I'm sure we're already all on, but where you have to show certain things, get certain things, and so yeah, that's the pleasure of living in a state like New York. That's what I'm concerned about. Other than that, people getting things in the long run, and other than that, I don't care. I'm not interested in, joining.
To the list. There's a lot of us on that list.
Yeah.
It's too long for them to read.
Proud to be
Like, you
there.
think their laws are too voluminous?
So, Lucky Dame, what do you think is the biggest threat that we face today?
I don't want to sound redundant, but I have to go along with what Militant Farmer said. I think people are the biggest threat. Knowing who to trust, Like you said, it's a big risk for us putting ourselves out here. I mean, maybe not me so much because I don't put my face on the camera.
You got this
for just that reason.
Yeah.
You're just a Barbie doll.
That's it. I'm a Barbie girl. The biggest threat. I mean,
most people don't know that she actually looks like that. That's a real picture of her.
It is. I mean, yeah.
Right.
I believe it.
That's what I tell everybody. This is what I look like this morning. I wake up like this. I think people are a big threat. I mean, there could be so many things. My brain goes all over the place. There are a lot of things that are a threat. I think it's so subjective. What I think is a big threat, someone else isn't going to think is.
Exactly.
I mean,
and at the root of it all is people.
Exactly. I'm saying that's what I was about saying. What it really boils down to is people. You know, I think people and for maybe it's just me, trust. Got some trust issues still going on over here, Mike.
Yep. Understandable.
But, yeah.
Understandable.
Well, I've said this before, is that to be in this sort of prepping and survival game, you, for better or worse, have to be a little, I hate to use the word, but paranoid.
Yeah.
Really cautious.
A little bit and cautious, whatever.
Cautious.
Yes,
definitely.
Paranoid is certainly a loaded word, but you guys, this whole panel, I think, knows what I mean by that. Is that you have to be very selfish, right?
To a point.
Okay, I'm gonna need a bunch of loaded words. You can take them however you want, but selfish, paranoid, questioning, lots of grains of salt, the whole shaker of salt. You gotta there's so much on your plate.
The word you're looking for, Livingston, is vigilance. You have to be vigilant. It kind of incorporates all that.
Yeah,
that's it.
So, Native, what do you think of the biggest threat that we face today?
I'm going to cheat and say two things. I'm definitely going to echo the thing about people, and I'm going to elaborate. Your neighbors and your family members who don't prep and think you're crazy are going to be very dangerous when everything collapses.
Yep.
They know what you have. And they're going to come there demanding, I'm family, you have to, and they're going to tell other people. For every person that knows what you have prepped, 10 more people know at least.
Yeah.
So, and your neighbors who aren't prepared, they're always going to be nosy. They're going to smell you cooking. They're going to hear your chickens, your pigs, and they're going to come investigate. Or they're going to bump into you somewhere and see that you're not dirty and starving and wonder why. So your neighbors are going to be dangerous. But I'm going to echo something, and every time me and Lucky Dame are on a panel together, I bring this up. But sanitation and hygiene.
Yes.
Okay.
I thought you were going to talk about the goat cart. Sorry.
The hog jogger.
That's the hog jogger coming soon.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think sanitation and hygiene is going to be a major problem for a lot of people. And as a prepper, if you're not prepping soap and things to disinfect things, you're asking for trouble, because something like a bad case of pink eye will kill you or your children.
Any minor infection turns into a major infection if you leave it untreated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Preventative measures.
That's right.
Excellent. I think you're right on with the sanitation thing, man. It's the more you get out in the woods, the more you realize you get really dirty really fast. Super easy to get an infection in that environment. So I think you're right on the money with that. Catskill already gave us a response. The roaming prepper. What do you think is the biggest threat that we face today as preppers?
Man, that's a loaded question. I think
Absolutely.
I'd have to start with the Walking Dead syndrome. If any of you've watched the series, and granted it's zombies, The Walking Dead doesn't refer to the zombies. It refers to the other humans. And I think that's going to, at the forend, that's going to be a major problem. But as Native pointed out, over time, things will settle. And then it becomes a question of infection, illness. You look historically, Guadalcanal or World War I, a lot of troops died from infection, poor hygiene. It's going to be transitioning from stupid people to diseases over time. But at the front end, it'll definitely be people, without a doubt.
Awesome. And unfortunately, that seems to be the consensus. Northern Girl, what's your take? What's the biggest threat that we face today as preppers?
I'm thinking that definitely the people, like everyone else is mentioning. And I think too that the medical system, I think Peaceful Monkey just mentioned something in chat. We're having a problem with medical shortages here in Canada. And that's going to be a big thing because a lot of people are going to be sick. And like even our buddy Gord, he's kind of like your old mutt. He was mentioning to me the other day that there was like some sort of a hack that went down with his pharmacy, and he could only get like 30 of his 120 prescription for last month. So I think it's going to be a bad thing going forward because our meds are coming from China and India, right? So yeah.
Awesome. And that is a big concern. So if any of y'all in the chat need meds, there's a lot of folks here who are affiliates of Jace Medical. There's a ton of links floating around. Get yourself some antibiotics, folks. If you can afford to do it. Get them ahead of time. Prepping by Faith. What do you think is the biggest threat to preppers today?
Well, you know what? I agree with what everyone has said, but I think I'm going to come at this from a little bit of a different angle. Because I think one of our biggest challenges, at least that I've witnessed since I started doing this channel, is just this current widespread division in our community over petty differences. And I think we have got to start setting some of these things aside and bridging our communities together so that if we can have any chance of forming a society after a full collapse, that we are going to have to start doing it on this side of the chaos. Because if we don't have any trust and everything in the group now, how are we going to rebuild anything later? So that's kind of where I sit on it.
Can I interject myself for a second?
Right there.
What you were just saying about getting everybody together and putting the petty differences aside. I was involved in a 2A movement here in New York for a while. And that was one of the things I got out of it because of that reason. Because at one time we had a summit with all the groups in New York, and there was like 50 different groups that showed up. And just the egos and the petty bullcrap, after years of doing, I did it for 10 years? Oh, yeah. Something like that. Yep. I pulled out because of the egos and everybody wanted to be right.
Right.
They had to be right. The solution was the right solution. They were the top dog, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I said, see you guys later.
Right.
Yep. I agree.
We're not going to be able to build anything if we're going to tear each other down. So
that's something that I've noticed that's always been there, at least as far as I've been around in online survival or preparedness community, whatever you want to call it. That's something that's always been. There's definitely in the 2A community and in the shooting community for sure. I don't know if that's something. Do you think that's something we could ever get rid of? I mean, not to like run too far off topic here.
I think that loaded word paranoia is like synonymous. Angry prepper, you've been too quiet, my brother.
Yep. What is the biggest threat that we face today, my friend?
Me personally, I really don't think it's people. People are easy to figure out, especially stupid people. And if you pay attention to people like I think most of us do on here, you'll see a lot of the bullshit coming. You'll see a lot of the danger coming. A lot of you are armed. So it shouldn't be too much of a concern, especially if you live in the woods somewhere. If you live in a city like New York, it is a concern. But my concern is what I can't see. Are the things that are out there, the things that I didn't calculate. That's what I'm more concerned with. People, you can lie to them and send them off in a different direction. You can handle it, or however you're going to handle it. But I think the things that we don't see are the things that are ultimately going to hurt us. I mean, yes, we all play chess, right? In our heads, we war game our preps and the situations we could end up in. But there's still always that curve that you can't see around. And that's what I ultimately worry about.
Awesome.
Word.
Awesome. I think that's a great, the unknown, that's always everybody's biggest fear is what's coming around the curve. And that's kind of why we all stick our necks out and see what the hell is going on, what the pulse is in the community, in the neighborhood, wherever we're at. And that's a great point, brother. A great point.
Now, last but absolutely not least, New York Prepper. A guy who's up on everything. He's
in
waist
it.
deep
He's in it.
all the information. Knows what's up. Greg, tell us, man, what is the greatest threat facing us all right now?
Oh, that's a tough question. There's so many different things. I personally think that we are living in historic times right now, geopolitically, with everything going on with Russia invading Ukraine. That's historic, and I don't think a lot of people understand the ramifications of that geopolitically. And the next couple of years, what's going to happen with Russia and China, and it's like a new axis of evil forming. All these old communist countries are forming an alliance now. China and Russia were just doing drills, or I think they're supposed to be doing drills in Latin America. So, I'm going to kind of propose something different here, because what everybody said already is, I agree with everything. Definitely got to have your medical taken care of, your food and water, your security. But what if there's a world war and we get attacked on, here in the homeland? What are you going to do about that? Do you know what to do if nukes start to land near you? It sounds like it could never happen, but nobody thought 9/11 would happen. Nobody thought, C-19 would happen. So I think that's something that people need to think about, because there's just tons and tons of information about, how to start a fire, how to do speed reloads. You can find so much information on that, but there's not really many people talking about an attack on our homeland, especially a nuclear attack. I don't know if it's necessarily the biggest threat, but it's definitely a threat that we should all consider as preppers.
Well said.
I agree, especially with the notices and stuff like we pointed out the other day. I know just about everybody jumped up on it, that there was issues in the city, and the emergency preparedness put out a whole list of what to do in a nuclear attack, and it was basically trash. They want you to hide in a building, and that's it, and wait for further instruction.
Yep.
It was a joke. It's a joke.
Well, do they really know what to do during a nuclear attack? I mean, come on.
Well, they do, but they're not going to tell the average citizen, which is the biggest problem. And
I was actually hoping
to welcome Prepper now to the stream. What's happening, my friend? How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm just being a dad. I had to put the kids down and all that.
Awesome.
Always fun.
So I do have a question for you, my friend.
Yes.
We've gone around the panel, and you'll be the last one to answer. What is the biggest threat that we as preppers face today?
I think I agree with basically what everybody said. This is a very, very multifaceted question. You can go in so many different directions. I kind of focus on kind of political stuff and all that. I think
your avatar.
I think government is one thing that's an issue on multiple different levels. I'm always kind of focused on the rights thing, because it's what I do for a living. I worry about our Second Amendment rights, our rights to free speech, my right to have things. There's countries that are putting in laws that make it so you can't even prep, and so my kind of first thing is right there. Other people are an issue, but I think Angry had a good point where you can kind of deal with people, and it's just good. You're never going to solve all the world's problems. The best thing you can do is just have your people, and have your group or whatever it is.
I agree.
That you can that then they know you, and they kind of know where everybody's coming from, and you trust them. As for issues and everything that's coming down, I think Greg hit it pretty well with the geopolitical things. You are really living in interesting times. You are in a complete and total paradigm shift. of what is going on. You know, these countries are noticing that America is weaker on many different levels. And, you know, whenever the big dog is weak, the other dogs are going to come in and try and attack, whatever that may be. And right now, I think we're suffering a lot of death by 1,000 cuts. And I think the main thing that's going to really start to take hold over the next 3 to 6 months is going to be an economic pressure. And at that point, it's going to basically wipe the deck of everybody, and everybody's going to be so focused on trying to deal with things like energy and putting food on the table that all the other stuff that we've been worried about and can kind of focus on right now, because we can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time, all that's going to go by the wayside, and it's going to become a lot more chaotic because people are going to be fully focused on financials. And so, you know, there's a lot going on. You know, I'm 48 years old, and I've never seen so much going on. And as a guy that teaches history, you are living in, as my mother put it the other day, you know, things that haven't happened for 200-300 years. I mean, this is really a kind of a super cycle event. And so, as for preppers and prepping in itself, I think people just need to stay focused, not get overwhelmed. That's what my video was about yesterday. And just do the best you can. Whatever you can do, it's always going to feel like it's never enough. But as long as you're doing something and being proactive about it and trying to just stay positive and in a good mental space, you're going to be ahead of 97% of the people out there.
Amen. Amen.
Where is it? Where?
We got the bell back. We got the bell back. So I do want to ask my guest, Outlaw Jackson, what do you think is the biggest threat that faces preppers today?
See, now I thought everybody on the panel hit it on, you know, right on the mark. But Prepper Now is how I'm feeling. Well, Prepper Now just said is how I'm feeling.
Yeah, he dropped some truth.
Well, he did drop truth.
Absolutely.
Back in the early days when I first started prepping, I went to the whole thing worried about people coming to my house and worried about people knowing and all that stuff. And right now, the biggest threat to me in my mind when it comes to preppers is our own government. I think they're targeting us. I think we're being labeled as extremists.
I agree.
Imagine a world that we're living in where you're preparing for something to happen and you just want to make sure that your family's taken care of and you're considered an extremist. So to me right now, that's our biggest threat is the U.S. government.
Don't forget about us over here in Canada.
I really want to hear from the Canadian.
Yes.
All right. As a Canadian person, perhaps like our news cycle has dominated yours, or has it not? But what do you see? Like, what's your daily outlook as far as like the Canadian outlook? Just because as an American, I can only imagine it. I want you to. What is going on in Canada right now? Like that question makes any sense.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It's now we have like all these bills being passed without any, you know, consultation from anyone whatsoever. Now we have this new bill C11. And so like our stuff is being censored like massively now. And of course, well, we got Sparkle Socks in power, right? So it's just,
Nice.
not fun times at all. And like I was gonna go back to Ottawa and do the stuff, and then Ontario Prepper and we talked about it, and we decided against it, just to stay home and keep prepping and getting our shit together, and you know, learning our people and getting to know our people more. Because going freedoming, I don't know, you know, like I try to keep doing the stuff as I can here locally, but I mean, it's important to be doing my stuff that I got to get done now here at home.
Agreed.
I hope that answered your question. I'm not sure. It's just
my question was wildly disjointed. As an American, like we are massively insulated. We get to know the American viewpoint of everything, and that's it. And we're like everyone else is just basically shut out. Like we're not allowed to know. we're not so much not allowed to know as that it basically doesn't matter to us, so they don't show it to us.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So like to get a perspective of another country or another like culture even is hard to do and hard to try to digest even. So it's great to have another viewpoint here from somebody outside
outside of the U.S.
outside that wall that we have,
So I'd like to pose another question to everybody. We've all seen the global uprisings recently. It seems to be happening nation after nation, governments falling or basically recusing themselves because they're
running up on their house.
It's bad. Right. Globally, it's bad. So my question I pose to you, militant farmer, is can we have a Sri Lanka style uprising here in the US? Do you see that as a possibility?
Maybe. I honestly don't know, man. Something like that, I feel like unless law enforcement's on our side, something bad's gonna happen. I don't know. There's a reason we don't tar and feather people anymore, People don't agree with that.
We can go back to it.
I mean, I'd love to go back to it. Honest to God, I would love to go back to doing things like that. We need to start doing public executions again, all sorts of things like that. This country it's ready to collapse, man. Like people just need to get that into their heads. It's going to, and you need to get ready for it. So
unfortunately, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Lucky Dame, what do you think? Do you think a global uprising of Sri Lankan proportions could happen here in the United States?
In the immediate future, no.
Okay.
I mean, like within this year or in the next few months or anything, no, I don't. I could see... I mean, I could envision a series of events where that could possibly, something like that could happen, something to the effect of, I talk balkanization occasionally, and some people will call it a civil war. I think we're saying the same thing. I think a lot of times when people are saying, we're going to have a civil war, they're thinking, 1800 Civil War where it was North versus South. I think it's more, I could see regions of the U.S. breaking up, states coming together in their own kind of little areas, like maybe the Southeast, the Northeast, Northwest, different, things like that, and breaking up. That kind of uprising, I guess, that kind of breaking apart. I hate to say balkanization. Oh, hello. Yeah, how about that? Hey. And sorry, I had to stop myself from saying something there. Behave, I'm not on my channel. So I could envision, possibly. I hate to say balkanization because that does have an element of religion tied in with it. And I don't think necessarily that would happen here. Oh man, my brain goes in so many different directions. Yes, I could see something happening in the future. In the immediate future, no, but I do think it's something that we should keep in mind, and that I think I could possibly see it in my lifetime. Yes. I do think it is something I could start to see, if not fully happen, definitely the beginnings of it. Absolutely.
I agree. Native, what are your thoughts? Do you think something like that could go down here in the U.S.?
On the level that's happening in Sri Lanka right now, I just think we're the governmental structure of our country is so different from Sri Lanka. I don't see it happening. I would see that happening here in our country when you can't go to McDonald's and get a quarter pounder. When you can't order pizza, that's when enough people in our country would wake the hell up to do something like Sri Lanka is happening. And to expand on what Lucky Dane just said about balkanization, this is something I've talked about before on our channel. I see that happening before something like Sri Lanka. It's already happening. Mm-hmm. You look at what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida, what Kerry Lake is doing, running for governor in Arizona, what they're doing down in Texas and other states. They're already look at what Gavin Newsom just did, putting out an ad for governor for his state, and he mentioned the governor of another state. that was weird. That's balkanization is happening right before us.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the Supreme Court passing, or overturning all these different rulings, and then the federal government, the president, saying we're not going to listen to what the Supreme Court says, and encouraging people to go to their houses and protest. And you got the military saying, well, we're not going to recognize the Supreme Court's ruling. We're going to still do this on military basis. We're in balkanization. It's already happening, and like Lucky said, going along religious lines, it's almost like it is religion to some of these people. Some of the things that they're holding to, it's not based in logic, it's not based in science, it's based on their ideology, their religion, their faith. They hold to these things not because of facts, not because it's true, but because they feel it, because they believe it. It's already happening. So I mean, that's what I see happening in the next few years.
Now, Nita, we got a question for you. You said when people can't go to McDonald's. Didn't that happen in 2020?
No, if you think back, the only restaurants open were the big corporate chains.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
all
but
the privately owned things are shut down, and now some of them shut down and they'll never be open. But all the big corporate chains were the only places you could get food.
It's true. It's true. NY Prepper, do you think the uprisings could happen here?
I don't think so realistically, unless something crazy happened, like some kind of a gun ban. If there was like a nationwide gun ban, like some of those laws that they wanted to pass, like nationwide gun registry, I think that would push people over the edge. Because, you got to understand that there's a lot of hardcore people in this country, especially like in the heartland of America. You have some really red areas, people, they don't care, just because they pass a law doesn't mean that they're going to follow it, So I think if they went to some kind of extreme gun ban, I think that would push people over the edge. That probably would cause a revolution, in my opinion. But other than that, I agree with what Native Voice said. I do think that there's more division happening. The red states are getting redder and the blue states are getting bluer. Like, for example, I used to live in New York. Now I live in Pennsylvania. And the differences are just insane. And they're right next to each other. Like, I can go to New York with some of my firearms and I would be a felon. Over here, it's like no big deal. Everybody has high capacity magazines, suppressors, whatever, open carry. If I do that in New York, I'm a felon. But like, if you look at like New York with what happened recently with the Supreme Court ruling, where the Supreme Court ruled that judges don't have the right to impose, just or not just cause, proper cause to get a concealed carry permit. In New York, for those of you guys who don't know, to get a concealed carry permit, you need to provide a proper cause why you want it, and the judge has to sign off on it. So it's very totalitarian.
See, they're breaking them up. They don't want them to talk.
What's that? The governor of New York.
We're losing you, Greg. Your audio is cutting out real bad, buddy.
I thought it was just me.
No, it seemed glitching, kind of freezing a little bit.
Greg's
brother's freezing him out.
Yeah, when you start speaking real truth on here, issues start happening.
Start talking about New York gun laws. See what happens.
We lost you for a minute,
Look at
Greg.
the face how it froze.
Yeah,
on the screen.
he's in Frozenville. He's in Frozenville. Oh man,
he was on a roll too, man. I hate that.
Yeah, the worst, man. It's like they have a zap button and they just zing. Right. You speak too much truth. No mas.
You hit too many key words.
Pete, do you think the global uprisings could happen, my friend?
I think it wouldn't be balkanization. I think it would be a very asymmetric regional issue. So you would, look at like Portland, right? Everyone agrees Portland and their stupid Chaz or Zaz or whatever it was, right? They were all They had their own little place. But then you had people from outside the same state, but outside the city, were coming in and like shooting them with paintball guns and starting fights. You would see that across the country. You would see little groups, and that would make it really hard to kind of control and calm people, because I don't believe there would be north and south, east and west. It would be people everywhere just lashing out at those they didn't like. Would it happen like in the White House? That's a loaded question, man. It's always possible, but it'll be like the Capitol in Hunger Games, right? They're going to protect their capital, and the rest of us can go to Shaboba. They don't care. So I could see it becoming very asymmetric, very regional. Almost county to county type stuff, depending on where you live. And I would also keep an eye on the corporations, because they have a lot of influence, and we're pretty much in an oligopoly as we are. So I could see them carving out little areas and saying, well, the such and such industry is going to kind of acquire this area. It would be very bizarre, almost like that movie Jericho, where corporations were kind of carving up the country. I could see that.
That's very interesting take. Very interesting take. Northern Girl has stepped out for a second. Prepping by Faith, do you think those type of uprisings could happen here in the U.S.?
I think it really depends on if these food shortages and things that we're seeing get exacerbated, and we continue to see inflation rise disproportionately, if we continue to see the fuel prices go bananas. I can see how people, if they get their back against a wall to a certain point and they really have nothing left, how they would come out swinging, and you would see a situation like that. But to see it on a nationwide scale, I think it would greatly impact the cities more than anyone else out in the rural area. And what I really think is going on, I think we look at this and we see this as something that should have already started imploding, but it's miraculously being held together by the powers that be. So the question is, will they really allow it to completely collapse, or will they continue to kind of keep the pot at a simmer and not really let it boil over? And I think, like I said, we're going to see these pockets happen in the cities, but I don't think they want that. I think they want controlled chaos, and I think that's what we're seeing. And if it gets too out of hand and it becomes too difficult for them to control, then that creates bigger problems. So what I see waiting in the wings for us is this CBDC. I think that's something that is coming. I know there's 105 countries that are working on this right now, and I could see them using that as something in order to attract the masses. This is a solution we have created for this problem. And I think they might try something like a higher conversion rate, where they entice people over, like a 2-for-1, or maybe even just giving you UBI if you have switched over to that CBDC.
That's a good point. When they control your currency, they control you, unfortunately. Angry, what do you think, my friend? Do you think it can happen here? You're still on. There you go.
So, I find it interesting that, what's his name? The Russian dude. I can't forget. Yuri Bezmenov.
Bezmenov, correct.
All right. Right. So, society, at least here in the United States, has been the men. We have been dwindling over the last, 30, 40 years. And you see the byproducts of it now. We have weak kids. We have a lot of guys who are running around with skinny jeans and fucking handbags. The race of men here in the United States, at least, and in the UK, are dying. We don't have that aggression anymore. And for those of you that remember J6, that put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, because now people don't know what to do. They don't know if they're going to react and protest, or are they going to stand by and wait for somebody else to start it. And I think that's what they want out of us. They want to weaken the male species, if you will, here in the United States, so we don't have that aggression anymore, so that we are willingly turning over firearms, because as you see, they're attacking the Second Amendment since, I don't know, I guess since I was a kid. They constantly weaken the male species here by telling us not to fight. It's okay to be, feminine. It's okay to cry. And so now we have this weakened species of men that are only going to get weak over time. They encourage them to play video games and not get outside and do real shit. They encourage them to, do girly things. But then once they start doing boy shit, it's too aggressive. So they're taking the aggression that men need to accomplish things out of the male race. So do I see us doing what Sri Lanka did? Absolutely not. To boot, Native and a couple people said, or roundabout way, they said, we are comfortable. We have everything we need. We have food on the table. We have Netflix. We have our internet. So we have a lot of distractions. We don't have, people pulling food off our table. And even if we got to that point, I think still we wouldn't protest or do what they did in Sri Lanka, at least.
I think that you are absolutely correct. I think that the complacency amongst people and the fact that you've got to go to work tomorrow because you've got bills to pay, that's what's going to keep those uprisings from happening. Prepper said, if something breaks the mold like a gun ban, I think then maybe it's possible. But until something like that happens, I don't see it.
See, I think it's going to be something completely different. I think, do I think it can happen? Yeah, but to the extent where things I've learned with gun control, bills that have been being passed, and even stuff with the big, China virus, we're willing to accept some shit, man. We're willing to accept and swallow some crap and really do nothing about it. And I don't think it's going to happen over something major like a gun control bill or something like that. I think what's going to set it off is going to be the stupidest thing in the world. The stupidest thing in the world is going to light that match and just burn everything down.
It's when Kim Kardashian loses her butt implants. That's when it
I think Prepping by Faith was saying it, that they're going to keep us going at like this constant simmer. And I think it's going to take something ridiculous, not ridiculously big, just ridiculous for it to get away from them. And that's when it's going to happen.
That's what I mean. It's going to be something so stupid.
Yep.
And then everybody's going to go, wait a minute, man. This is just ridiculous.
That's what lights the powder keg. So the man, the myth, the legend, Prepper Now. Do you think it's possible Sri Lankan type uprising here in the United States?
Maybe it's Prepper later.
Well, he's still on Prepper.
Later. That's awesome.
Oh, you talking to me now?
Yes, we got you.
I apologize. I'm on the Carolina coast watching a thunderstorm off.
It sounds like you're driving on a motorcycle.
Off the east, and I was sitting here having a moment with my wife. It was very awesome and saying, it's cool. Go ahead and live stream. We're out here walking the beach. But
good grief! Look at this.
Most of me, and like I was saying last night, man, you gotta have your time and all that because there's a lot of crap going on. So you got to keep your mental space nice and clear. This is our yearly battery recharge. But tell me the question again. I was listening and everything. A lot of great stuff as always. The group you have. I hope people watch this whole thing because everybody really had some excellent points. And so I just tapped out this big old thunderstorm off the coast. But go ahead. Tell me where am I going?
Northern Girl gets attacked
by a chicken.
That's a spy.
That's not. We need to expand that so we can see the chicken.
That's the new black one. Sorry.
So
there's a chicken in the live stream.
So Prepper Now, the question is, can a Sri Lankan type uprising happen here in the U.S. or are we just too complacent for that?
I think yes, and I think there's one thing, and this, of course, going back into the history brain, has always been the common thread to these things. People have to be really, really hungry. And for that to happen, as other preppers were saying on here, everybody right now they can still go down and get the quarter pounders. They can still get their food from the store and everything. Prices are up, all that, but you can still walk into most grocery stores and just about everything you need. When you're walking in and it's like those movies in Hollywood are rolling, and it's basically like a bar of soap and like a broke open pack of ramen on the ground and people going crazy and stuff, that's when you will see that kind of stuff. To get there, it's going to be a long lead. David Devine of Adapt 2030, he's someone I follow because he does a lot of stuff with food. And he's saying basically the harvest in September is going to be the real tell to what goes on for the rest of the year and throughout 2023. Because basically that's when the harvest comes in and they're going to know how bad it's going to be. I know that uprisings in the 1960s in China were bad because people were starving. You had the Great Famine. And so if there is anything that is on par with that, you're going to see uprisings. Otherwise, going back to the balkanization stuff that people were talking about, I do see more of that kind of line. My worry with that is that if we balkanize as a country, and already you've got Texas Republicans really starting to push for that secession thing, and other areas. I'm in central Maryland. In our county, less than a year ago, said, we would be okay with joining West Virginia. It was more ceremonial than what they said, and it's a big reason why we moved out to this place, because if it were to break down balkanized style, we would be on the good side of the land. But the thing is that for that to happen, my worry would be that we would be really vulnerable at that point, because who would have the nuclear football? How would the defense of this entire nation, this upper portion of the continent, be? Where would that all come from? And if we're in total chaos, you better believe the bear and the dragon are going to go, crazy on us. They're going to go balls deep. And so that is really my worry about that. I do see, as I put in my video a couple days ago, I see more things of you're starting to see right now where it's political hits. I think things are going to look a little bit more Northern Ireland 1980s than anything else. You're going to start to see, Supreme Court justices have people try to take them out. So Ted Cruz just had a guy come into his office and try to do something. Kathy Hochul, I heard, had some kind of an incident. Now, I don't know how trumped up these are, or, this is something just to kind of put into a media, bite for people to consume and click. But I really do see things starting to... I think people feel like their voices are not being heard, and with the inflation and everything else, they're getting stressed out. And the people on the very far fringes, the crazies, they're going to start to do things like that, where, I forget which one said it, but people are starting to get their politics like it's a religion. And that's a problem. When you start to view your political discourse on par with a religion, then you really will do the crazy things you're not supposed to do. And so my worry with all that is that we're going to kind of break down, and it's going to become a little bit more of a hit and miss kind of political hit kind of thing, where people are trying to take out justices and senators and whoever else. And at that point, they're going to really start to get paranoid, and then they're going to really go after our rights and try to take away that Second Amendment, First Amendment, whatever it may be. So I guess that's my answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you spending time with us while you're walking on the beach with your wife.
Thank my wife. Actually, she's cool about it. She said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm live streaming." She's like, "You want to go on a walk?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do it." She's like, "Yeah, you can live stream. Just tell me what's going on."
You got this. Thank you.
Awesome.
MY Prepper, thanks for hopping back on with us, man. I know you're having some issues over there. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got your audio 5x5, my friend.
It's 25.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm running an older computer.
Not a problem. So the question is, can a Sri Lankan style uprising happen here in the U.S.?
So like I was saying before I got cut off, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think, like I said, I think some kind of extreme gun ban. It would have to be something pretty extreme, because we did have in the 1990s, the Clinton era assault weapons ban, but it would have to be something pretty extreme. I think that would push people over the edge. Other than that, I think that our country is getting more and more divided. I think red states are getting redder and blue states are getting bluer. There used to be like less of a difference between some of these states, but now they're both going, you know, in their direction, like stronger. Does that make sense?
It does. Everyone's ideologies and beliefs are becoming more, I think, crystallized. Correct, right? Like everyone's just polarizing themselves. Like, and it's true. Like we're
exactly.
Everything is 50-50. Like you're on one side of the coin, you're on the other. Like, and there's no room for any sort of
there's
give
no in
there.
between.
Like,
There's no in between. There's no. I mean,
if you're this, you have to be this, and you have to do this, and then and so on and so forth. Like sort of all these beliefs and tenets you have to live up to.
Well, most of life is gray areas, but they want, it's either black or white now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything is. You have to be on one side of the issue or the other, and you can't question any middle ground of it at all, right?
Yes, I'd like to add to that too, and I would say that that goes along with a division in our country. I think that we're a little bit spoiled, our generation, in terms of freedom. Our grandparents understood what it truly meant to fight for freedom, but we're really spoiled here. And I mean, just use the example of Ukraine, okay? They're getting invaded by another country. And whether you're a Ukrainian right-winger or a Ukrainian left-winger, they're all uniting against the common enemy. And I think we could learn a lot from them, and that's the issue with this country, is that we're so divided. It's really sad, and I think it's dangerous to a certain extent. It's pretty dangerous.
Okay, I like this line of inquiry here. So let me ask the panel. Is there a fifth column at work here? Is there an outside influence actively working to divide America? Because united we stand, but divided we fall. Is there something going on here? Is there an agenda?
Militant farmer.
We always go to militant first.
I know,
You're always
man.
the first to go. You have to go backwards now. You have to go backwards now.
You want to
do the reverse.
Do reverse? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Back to you, Gregory.
Do I think that there's an agenda? Absolutely, there's an agenda for sure.
Is there is there a fourth eroding America, quote unquote, as we know it, from the inside? Like, is there some?
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. If you follow what's been happening the last 15 years, I mean, actually going back to the Bush era, there's definitely something going on behind the scenes, in my opinion. I think that I personally believe that there is a group of people behind the scenes that are the puppet masters, pushing everything around, moving the pieces in place. I don't think that's being a crazy conspiracist. I think the evidence shows it. There is a big plan to all of this for sure.
I love it. Now, who I want to hear from on this is Native. Tell me about your thoughts and experience with the United States government.
Oh, wow. All right. Ideologically, this is my opinion. Absolutely, there are outside forces causing division, because if you guys remember back to 2012 when there was Occupy Wall Street, when people from all over the spectrum, all races, all religions, all sexual preferences were coming together because we were realizing that there was something going on in our country, that basically our taxation was theft of the American people, right? And the whole banks, like the central bank system, and they're too big to fail. We were realizing, okay, this is screwed up. We're going to occupy Wall Street. And that's when all the intersectionality politics started. After that, they realized we need to divide these people because the common people are coming together against us. They're rising up and realizing we don't need the federal government that much in our lives anymore. We're a modern society now, so absolutely there are outside forces, Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians. They're all different faces of the exact same entity. They're the uniparty. They just want to keep themselves in power, and they play this game of thrones in front of us to make us believe, put our side in and we'll be the good guys. And the other side is, no, put our side in. We're for your rights. We got to protect our democracy and all these different things. But they all have the same end. In the end, no matter who wins, if you don't pay your property taxes every year, the government's going to seize your property and auction it off to the highest bidder. And that's just reality. That's just where we are. And so the best way to resist the government is to be self-sufficient and not need them for anything.
Amen.
Well, the one time that I can remember, I mean, there's been of course, I'm proud to be an American, so I don't want to come off the wrong way.
Of course.
But the one time that sticks out in my head when we were unified was after 9/11.
Yes.
The feeling that I had after 9/11, it didn't matter who you were, what political party you belonged to, what color you were. I felt great at that. I mean, I'm sorry, I shouldn't sound that way. It felt great. I felt great to be an American at that point, the way everybody came together.
Yeah,
I would agree. And I want to point this out too. I mean, I know we're a heavily American panel here other than NGH, but since being a part of this whole YouTube community thing for the past couple of years, I've realized that the ideology and movement in the preparedness community is not just an American ideal. There are free people all over the world who want to be freer, and there are uprisings all over the world right now.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Australia. I've been following the new Freedom Convoy that they took a note from the Canadians, and they're doing it with the tractors over in the Netherlands and on the border of Germany. Holy crap, the farmers.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing what's going on over there. And the mainstream media is not reporting on it, but it's amazing news what's happening. Sri Lanka, that is a first world country, and it is completely fallen. The prime minister and the president, all that, they're all in hiding. And so it's amazing what's happening. We the people all over the world are rising up against these globalists who are trying to force their agendas on all of us. I've been watching the chat. They're talking about how they're trying to force us all to eat bugs and crap.
Yep.
Like you believe all these elites and rich are going to eat bugs too?
No.
Crap.
How are they going to sell us the bugs?
That's right.
I eat bugs.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem eating bugs.
Yeah,
If
but
I have to,
when they're eating steaks and
I'd rather have a ribeye.
When we had the locusts come out.
Oh yeah, the cicadas.
The cicadas, yeah.
He was eating them like a
I was.
delicacy.
I read that they were a delicacy and they tasted like almonds. So I said, you know what? I gotta try it.
Did they?
They didn't taste like almonds. They were good.
I'll pass on the bugs. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll pass too. Thank you.
So I don't want to keep you guys here all night, but this conversation is just incredible. And I've got one more question for everybody in the panel. Just one more before we go.
We're gonna go. Can we go all the way around? Can we get everybody?
Yes.
This
one is for everybody.
You need to pick a random person this time and not.
Okay, I'm just gonna grab somebody out and.
Thanks, Livingston.
So the question now is, what can we do in the preparedness community to better gather like-minded people? I'm gonna go with Pete. Pete, you're on the hot seat.
Hey. All right. I'll tell you what I did is, being in negotiating business development for my companies, I know how to say things without saying things. So, we were in a meeting and we're talking about work, and somebody, I think it was during the riots, and somebody said, hey, you got to be careful. And I said, you just got to make sure you're gray when you walk out of those buildings. And two guys immediately went, and they looked at me. And I'm like, okay, you two clowns knew exactly what I was referring to. Well, it turns out one's a homesteader, and one who I've worked with for 12 years is a prepper also. So now we have three. And it's little things like that. I'll go somewhere where I'm at the shooting range, whatever, with people normally in my circle, and I'll throw out little lures, if you will. And somebody will suddenly go, wait a minute. And they'll come grab me after. Hey, did you were you referring to such and such, you know, because I'm trying to dehydrate food or something. Whole new conversation starts. I found so many preppers purely by just throwing out little tidbits at the right opportune time, and they've come back to me. That's been a great way. The other way to reach out to people is doing what we're doing. You know, I was on here almost a year, and my brother calls me out of the blue and goes, "Dude, you have a YouTube channel." I didn't tell anyone in the family. I kid you not. He's a big time prepper. I didn't tell him. I didn't tell anyone. I was curious how long it would take. And now there's some of the guys he served with follow me. And it's just interesting. You'd be shocked how many people we touch doing what we do.
Awesome, brother. Awesome.
I think you're right. Like, this day and age, like with the current zeitgeist, is more people are searching for that hashtag prepping, that hashtag survival.
Yeah.
Like even so-called, you know, from the internet is normies, right? Are realizing like, hey, you know, hey, my local conspiracy theorist is making a lot of sense these days. You know, I suspect our government has not been entirely transparent with us. How could this be? You know, and I'd love to hear Angry Prepper. All right, my man is in a major metropolitan area. When faced with a survival or prepping situation, this guy is going to have what I would rather be dropped in the middle of a desert or an ocean than the middle of a city.
Especially New York City.
And faced with a survival situation. So I want to hear the Angry Prepper himself tell me.
Yeah.
I would not. I remember hearing your story years ago. We won't get into that. But I said to myself, that is one position I would not want to be in. Get out of there, to deal with that, I would never, ever want to deal with that.
Like urban prepping and survival. Jason, please lay it on us, man. How's it going to go?
That's a shitty question to ask as a last question. Only because it's here's the problem. For a lot of people who don't live in the city, you look at the city as this debt trap. And yes, it can be a debt trap if you do not know what you're doing. If you don't know where to go and you don't know how to act. More importantly, situational awareness is going to get you over a lot of shit city. So with me, I'm used to the city's bullshit. I'm used to, or rather, I know who's going to react a certain way and who's not. There is the curveball, right? Like I said before, there's always that curveball, that curve that you can't see beyond. But here in the city, I could fare fairly well. And if shit gets, I live on a block where there's not a lot of people. And when shit gets hot or if it gets bad, a lot of people are going to leave. They're going to leave prematurely. And those are the people who are ultimately going to wind up dying on the road. So the city's going to be fairly empty. Then I'll have to contend with the bad element. But I'm prepared for the bad element. Some of you know why, or rather how. So with that, it's not as bad as one would think. We went through a couple of, I guess, bullshit scenarios. We had the blackout in 2003. We had 9/11 happen, and the city didn't fall apart. Now, 1977, and I was only a month old when that happened. The city fell into complete chaos. But even then, there were certain areas that were untouched by the chaos. So you have to know where that chaos is going to spread, where it's going to start, and that's the areas you stay out of. The whole theory, how do I clean this up? The theory for a lot of people that live in the suburbs or the woods of the states seem to think that people are going to be going door to door immediately. This shit is not going to happen. You're going to have a lot of people do a lot of other shit before they start doing the door to door. The door to door thing is going to be weeks, if not months down the line. They're not going to do that immediately. So I still have time and to get my family and myself out of the city during that point, or up until that point, rather. Sorry.
Awesome. So I guess that all boils down to he who is most experienced in his area will fare better than the rest. and obviously learning from history. Let's see, Native, what do you think we can do better to gather more like-minded individuals?
Well, I mean, to build on what Pete just said, not being afraid to step out and speak our minds on these certain issues, because I've had a similar experience where I work with just saying certain things and watching people realize. And also, in my job, I have to change a lot of different vehicles throughout the day, and wherever I go, my go bag goes, and people notice it, and they ask questions about it, and it's a jump off point to lead them into it. I try not to go too hard because I don't want to overwhelm them and make them think, I'm one of those people. But um, other than that, man, I mean, you just have to communicate with people and plant those seeds. And from our standpoint, it's always been kind of a taboo thing to do as a prepper to talk to people about prepping, because it exposes you for what you are. But we have to, and scoping people out and filling them out and propositioning them, I think is the thing. What we're doing here is a big thing, is a big part of it. I'm sure you guys have all had the experience where someone emailed you or left a comment or something on the video thanking you, saying they've never heard this stuff before, and explaining how they've become a prepper and how they've reached other people. Like, we could reach one person and they could reach 100 people, and they could be prepared. And so when the collapse does happen, that's 100 more people who are ready, to we're all gonna, and I've said this before, we don't need an army of 1 million people. We need 1 million armies everywhere all across the United States, people who are prepared and who are getting ready for this. That's what we need.
Amen, my friend. Amen. Prepper Now, do you think we can do some things better to help gather more like-minded individuals?
I do. I think there's a real balance that needs to happen when you're trying to prep and not tell the world, our preps are in a, I call it the bug out farm, which is about 30 minutes away from us now. And I'm always very worried if people are going over there. My mother-in-law will have people over and be like, well, they didn't go downstairs and see the room, did you? And she'll say, no. So there's that kind of OPSEC mentality of every prepper. Basically no one knew I was a prepper for a long time. And the only people that really know now are just family. And then of course, the YouTube channel. But then, everybody knows I keep my face hidden because of what I do, because I want to stay employed. And so I've got a online Telegram mag of people in my area that I've put together. And over the last year, we've gotten to know each other. We've shared things. We've talked. We do a weekly chat. And we're going to do a meetup here pretty soon. Awesome. And so, it it was kind of formed a year ago in case there was, because we started to see the shortages and stuff last summer and the very beginnings of it. Just thought, let's just talk to each other. If there's something going on, we're in the same area and we can kind of get a local on the ground, what's what, and get to know each other in case there is an issue. And now these people have literally become some good friends who I talk to all the time. There's one person that lives 5 minutes away from me and we know each other. And there's another person that lives 2 hours north in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So, it's a good thing, I think, to have people, but you really do want to take your time to get to know them. As for getting more people into preparedness, just like anything, sales is, you attract more flies with honey than you do vinegar. So just, try to tell people, I just talk to people and kind of lay it out that it's insurance, and getting people into your mag or whatever, that can be a scary thing. If you just keep it on a prepping level and you're, not trying to go J6 on anything or, that kind of thing, you'll be okay. You'll find your people. You'll know pretty quickly. But take your time. That's what I've done with these people is we've taken a year and really talked to each other and gotten to know each other and figured out what they're doing and shared ideas. Because there's some people in this thing that are I think I'm a suburban prepper essentially. These people are raising their own food, doing everything where if the lights were to go off, they would be like nothing happened to them. So, but it's awesome to have those people because they're also an incredible resource. So you just can't be afraid of all that, but also you want to be paced. So, I guess my thing is just to be, keep prepping attractive, stay aloof, but, if you have someone you think you trust after a good long vetting and getting to know them, then, you should maybe talk to them about, joining up and helping each other if the worst of the worst were to happen. So.
Well, that face-to-face is important. The whole conspiracy theory, I've been called that for 30-something years now. But then my phone started ringing off the hook. Oh, by the way, can you? Oh, how do I? But that face-to-face, over the years, I've got a good network of people. 30 plus years I've been doing it. And that face-to-face is the most important thing to me. Of course, the YouTube channel and seeing the personalities is one thing and learning, but you have to look the person in the eyes to see if you trust them or not.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Absolutely. So, Northern Girl, what do you think that we can do better to gather like-minded individuals to the community?
Well, one thing that I will say, it's starting to get dark here. Being a mod for quite a few channels, there's a couple on panel, it's enabled me to connect with people in my area, which has been fantastic, like specifically Canada, and then even more so to Ontario. So I've been able to connect with people that way. So thank you for giving me the wrenches. I really appreciate it. And then doing the freedom rallies and stuff like that. I think Michelle the Great just mentioned that in chat. Going to the freedom rallies, doing the rally stuff, getting to meet people locally. And then you kind of can gauge them. You get to be friends with them. And then you just kind of say it under your breath. Hey, you better be prepping, or stack it to the rafters. And then you gauge what the reaction is going to be, right? So that's one way that it's worked for me. And then, and then just connecting with those people on a personal level. And then you have your other people, or those people vetting in their people too. So then your group grows. And one thing I also want to add is, do not keep all your preps in one spot, folks. If you can avoid it, spread them out. Once you trust your people, and you're going to know after a year or two who you can trust, right? So just keep doing the things.
Amen, sister.
Go to the little rallies and stuff. Yeah, it's all important.
Lucky Dame, do you think there are things that we can do better to help gather more like-minded individuals to the community?
Things we can do better.
Yeah. We're all out here. We're putting ourselves out.
Right.
We're trying to get people prepared. But what is there more that we can do?
There's always going to be more that we can do.
Yeah.
Honestly, we can always do something more. It's going to be what you're comfortable with. Obviously, you see, I don't put my face on the screen for a myriad of reasons, kind of like Prepper Now.
Yep.
I am aware of groups in my area. I don't know them personally, but I'm aware of them. But more than that is just, the last 2 years since 2020, there's been so many people who are coming into preparedness or getting interested in it for all kinds of reasons. I've had cashiers at the grocery store. I talked about this one time. A cashier at the grocery store lowered her voice and kind of like she was whispering to me about something she'd seen on the news. The plants, the fires in the factories, right? The food plants. And she's telling me, and I thought, how funny. It was almost like she's trying to convert me. She just picked a random customer, and I thought, you don't know who you're talking to. But I went along with it. So, because I was like, I want to try and encourage her. Yes, don't be afraid, because she was upset. And I was like, because she worked at the store and she was telling me they were having trouble. They weren't getting a lot of chicken in, and she was concerned about that. And I was like, oh, thank you for that information. Hey, don't freak out. Hey, you might want to put some food back. And she's like, yeah. And I thought it's funny because she still thinks she's telling me that I need to, and I'm telling her you need to. But there are people, just everyday people out there who aren't saying a whole lot, but just like what Pete said, what Native have said, say little things. You don't have to go out and broadcast everyone, hey, guess what I got at home? Or guess how many years or months worth of food, or guess what I've got, all the goodies at my house.
Yep.
You should too. You don't have to advertise that. You can just say little things. And people are going, they're at different levels. It's a spectrum of preparedness, right? So people are going to pick up on it. They're not going to know where you are unless you volunteer that information, but talk to people, just sprinkle words, vocabulary, put it out there just a little bit. And it helps people who are kind of new to preparedness. I find kind of reinforces that confidence. They feel like they're not alone. They're not a weirdo, because you're not, but it's hard not to have that feeling, especially if you think no one else is really on board with you, or if you're getting flack from family or friends who aren't on board with it. Just a random stranger, you're like, yeah, okay, they understand. They got that's kind of what I've been doing. I've just kind of been putting a little bit out there to just the average everyday person. Yeah, just saying little things, like, oh, wow, I play dumb really well. I'm very convincing. And I just go, wow, have you seen this? That's so crazy, and it gets people talking. And I'm like, wow, yeah, and lean in like, wow, I think I'm going to put some food back. And they're like, yeah, you should. I'm like, yeah, you too. Stay safe.
That's right.
Encourage that, encourage it. And it's not I'm trying to be deceptive with anyone. It's just get it out there.
That's a great,
throwing out those little tidbits.
Exactly. Pete. It's like when you said you're putting those tidbits out there, that's exactly it. You don't have to broadcast, everything you've got. And unless you really want to, good luck with that. Yeah, I don't recommend it.
Yep.
But yeah, just have a conversation with people.
I will tell YouTube where I fucking live. Come to my house.
That's been
dox yourself. That's right.
So prepping by faith.
Fun.
Do you think we can do things better to help gather more like-minded people?
I think one of the things that we can do is try to make preparedness maybe not so much just focused on all this back here, but we could also, just talk about how to prepare for natural disasters. I think if you could get people maybe talking about, something like earthquake preparedness or, whatever it is in your area. In my area, it's going to be blizzards. And, the more you talk to them about just having enough things on hand for those sorts of events, you're going to be able to gauge whether or not they're even interested in getting into preparedness. And then another thing that I've discovered is just, following, like in my community, we have like your local HOA pages and things on Facebook, and you can kind of connect with people there. I actually met somebody in a nearby neighborhood that way. And, we were just talking about all the different things that are going on. We went to a cookout over there. There are other ways of kind of reaching people that you may not be thinking about. So.
Awesome.
I think the one good thing that came out of the debacle of 2020 was it turned a lot of people into preppers. It turned it. I mean, my wife has tolerated me for years with my obsession. And I'm sure she's watching now.
To like, wow, this guy makes a lot of
sense.
sense.
Yeah, well, no, she started going online and ordering all kinds of stuff, and then oh, what about? Have you heard of? Yes. Then she says to me one day, "This is the best one." She goes, I read on one of the prepper channels. Yeah, she started reading prepper channels. She said, they say the best gun for home defense is the shotgun. Do you have one?
What?
No, but I'm thinking about getting one.
That's a good idea. We'll give it a couple, honey.
No, I don't have any.
So, Militant Farmer, do you think we can do things better to help attract more like-minded people to the community?
I'm sure we could, and a lot of these people on this panel that are a lot smarter and more well-spoken than me have covered things like that. For me, though, it's showing up to bug-out bag weekends and helping people with their bug-out bags, or, having people over to my house and showing them, if I'm not out camping or fishing or doing something of the sort, we're taking care of the garden, we're taking care of the rabbits, we're taking care of the chickens. And people ask about the chickens, and we help, give them ideas, and we give them knowledge about that. I don't know. Like I said, everybody else on this panel has come up with some great ideas, and you guys are all about talking to people out in stores and whatnot, and I'm a hermit over here just out by myself and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm better suited, I guess, not necessarily telling you what to do, but helping you figure out how to do it and how to do it your way, as opposed to
You mean like Mike with his backpack?
Yeah, exactly. Like Mike with his backpack. I couldn't do that over a live stream or something like that. Like I got to be there. I got to be hands on with that. So,
did you hear that?
But awesome.
Yeah, man. I feel like talking to people is one thing, but you can give them all the ideas in the world, talking to them face to face, and they get home and they go, "I have no clue how to even start this." That's where I come in.
It's the osmosis. It's the osmosis.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that people that we've connected with here too. A lot of them are doing raised bed gardens now, and they're getting chickens. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So as we've been doing stuff with people, a lot of people have fallen off of our clipboard, so to speak. But a lot of them we've become enmeshed with much tighter, and so it's awesome once you get your little group going, and get people doing things again. Or starting to do things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Angry. What do you think, brother? Do you think we can do more?
I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. I would love it. Listen, if you would ask me this question 5 years ago, I'd have been like, oh yeah, we need to do more. But I don't know if I want more people that I don't like or stupid, irresponsible, jerk-offs, assholes to be a part of this.
Jason, you're holding back. Just say what's on your mind, man.
Well, I feel like the more people that do this, the less people I have to worry about.
Yeah. That's always been my kind of mindset.
And I totally see. I understand where you're coming from and everything. But go ahead, man.
Right.
Sorry.
But the problem is, greedy people don't give a fuck. Right.
100%. 100%.
They'll be prepared. They'll be prepped, but they'll be like, "Let's go get militant farmer shit." So again, I at one point I used to be like, oh man, everybody should be prepared. We kumbaya. Then I grew the fuck up, and I'm like, no. You know what? It's the people that are going to prepare responsibly. That's who we should absolutely focus on. But like that new term I heard the other day, werewolf preppers. Those are people who don't give a shit. Yeah. Right? They're coming after our shit.
I'm missing out on something. Werewolf preppers.
I feel like I'm missing out on something
really
too
are.
here.
We're
What is
marauders.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, thank you. Prepping by faith, thank you. It's marauders. It's not werewolf.
Yeah.
They're trying to come up with cool fucking terms. Like,
Yeah,
look at my
of course.
channel. Werewolf prep. Like, eat a dick, dude. It's fucking called marauder.
Wait, I nominate Hudson Chupacabra Prepper. How about that?
It always amazes me.
You're not a prepper, you're a thief.
The amount of people that are willing to learn too. Like I can remember at one of the live events we had, one of Angry's viewers decided he was going to come up and try a bug out weekend, and it was somebody that was straight up from the city, no experience. He came up with a brand new tent, brand new sleeping bag, everything, first time ever. I think it was his first time stepping out of the city.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
And to have the balls, honestly, to actually come with a bunch of rednecks, and go be in the woods. I mean, have you seen Militant Farmer? Would you want to sleep next to him?
Yo, not gonna lie,
I did sleep next to him. Never mind.
Safest place out there, sleeping next to me.
But I mean, the credit though.
You roll over in the middle of the night, and that's what you see right there.
But Angry,
He's always smiling. He's always smiling.
Angry just doing what he does, convince somebody to step out and to do something like that. And I was impressed by that.
Yeah, it brought him out of his comfort zone.
Out of his comfort
about
zone.
me still?
Yeah,
I know he's watching. So when
Yeah.
you come back to the next event, if you snore like you did last time, I'm dragging.
Stop
your
yourself!
ass out of the
Stop yourself! That wasn't me.
Right?
Gotta
That's
have
not
your
me.
plugs in the
No,
press.
it was the guy.
Oh man, inside intel here.
Look, it wasn't me, it was the squirrels.
It's
Well, that's what I say too, Lucky.
so
I don't
some
call Jody
people,
my little
some
bear for no
people
reason.
do cut some wood in their sleep, and you find that out at these events. So
I want to
that,
smother people with the pillage. I'm like, oh, so you can sleep like that?
well, these
cool.
folks get
Forever,
a
then,
soundproof,
motherfucker.
a soundproof place to sleep when the shit hits the fan, because they are going to blow up your spot, hands down. So you need to know who those people are ahead of time, and these weekends help us.
They sound like
right.
But 10
I
times
wish it
louder.
sounded like that.
That's outlaw right there. That's outlaw.
Horrible.
rumbles the ground.
So I guess my final question for everybody, Before I let you guys go, we've been rambling for almost an hour and 40 minutes, and I don't want to keep you guys.
Conversation we have ever had, and I love every single one of you for coming out and doing this.
Yes, thank you all so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
I guess my final question for the night is: would you all be interested in pulling another panel like this again soon? Is it something that we should try and do monthly, maybe every couple months we get together and hash out some things? Because I want to get questions from you guys to ask the audience next time. These guys come here to hear us talk all the time, but I want to answer some of their questions. And I think that would be pretty awesome for all of us to get together and just hash out things with the chat and see where they can kind of steer us, because there's a lot of great minds here. And I really appreciate you all for coming out tonight. Thank you again so much. So
thanks for having us.
Without any more, man, thank you. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here tonight. Militant Farmer, Angry Prepper, Roaming Prepper, Prepper Now, NY Prepper, Northern Girl Hobbies, Lucky Dame, Native, Prepping by Faith, and we lost Catskill along the way. Unfortunately, I think her power finally got cut off to fix those power lines. So, Catskill, we love you. Thank you so much for being here tonight, guys. This is Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival, and we will catch you all on the next one. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
God bless.